Uh, here. All right. Looks like I'm live. I am live. Okay. Continuing off from where we left off over the weekend, I'm gonna try to finish this thing off. Yeah, but I think it's time to leave. Time to leave Worldographer behind. I'm going to move some stuff over to Ouija for anybody who asks, because they always do. Ouija is what I'm using. Nest of rocks. You know what? I don't know why it does that. There we go. Okay, nest of rocks. This is 005.000. And let's grab what's going on out of there. I don't need those points totals anymore. There we go. That's fine for that one. The next one I need is, let's yeah, we'll grab this. We'll call this layers. Give it a color. There we go. Work. Move this whole thing. I'll move it there, and I will increase the size. Here, and this one, what is that? It's the Displacer Beasts. There, and we can cut, paste that in there. We've got, oh, I didn't put the, that is, oops, 004.001. And then our next guy is that dwarf. Injured dwarf prospector. Okay, yep, yeah, injured dwarf prospector, and his, what do we have written there? There we go. Now we've got, oh yeah, the encampment. On this orc encampment, and that is, whoops, that's at 00300. What do we have? I definitely have more of a story I want to tell about the orcs, but I'm just gonna put this information in there later. We can talk about. We can maybe do some stuff with that after we're all done. And then, let's see, you can close that one. This one would be the mercenary encampment. And that is 003.002. Right. And then who's in here? Oh yeah, I can get rid of those point values. I'll do that in a second. Okay. Yeah, let's just clean this up right now. Okay, and then we can clean this one up also. That's a 9 hit die. Or 9th level. I should say, yeah, it's really not, because I don't think they have 9th level. Magic user. The warriors. Okay. And then, so that's that. We've got, so that's all that. And then we have this over here. Yes. Well. Wires/settlements, maybe? Is that the way I should? Oh, what are you doing, Ouija? Yeah. Actually, no, we're going to, hold on. Actually, we're going to do it like this. We're going to do it like this. So that actually is it for the layers. No, it's not. There's one more, which is this one over here, which is the lizard folk layer. Lizard folk layer. Oh yeah, and that is, what's its designation? Or not designation, it's in 001.003. Hey, Swords and Stones. Morning for you, afternoon for me. This is more that vintage, what is this? Mandarin orange seltzer for the working man. I'm just moving stuff. I'm moving things out of Worldographer. I think I'm kind of done with the Worldographer phase, and I want something with more. Couple things. So when I want to be able to see my text a little bit better, I can kind of read it out and look at it without having to hover or do things in the thing. And I think the map's pretty much final. 11:30ish here. Okay, so you're not that far behind. What, 3 hours? I'm in U.S. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so that is it for layers. So those are only layers. And you might say, well, wait a minute. There's other things. But yes, I'm going to put that under domains and settlements. Har har. So this I thought was a cool. It feels very critical role. I think because they've used conclave before. The Arbor Conclave. I thought that was cool. And you could go with Arborin, Arborite, Arborian Conclave would work. I'm just going to go with Arbor for right now. We'll see. That works. This is this area here, which is the forest domain. Forest domain. I say under the auspices of the, and I don't even know what to call it, church of something. I don't know. Maybe it's not even. We'll just say it's. We'll put its extents. I guess is how we could. Let's bullet it out. Shall we? Extents. Oh, thank you, Sword and Stone. Says the map's looking pretty stellar. Well, I mean, I think hopefully the takeaway is that this is not, that there is nothing really. There's, anybody, if I can do it, so can you. Anybody can do this. And really, I think if I go back and look at what is this, the third stream of this, but which might seem like, okay, well, most of these streams have been between 1 and 2 hours, but I think that if the what's the word I'm looking for? If I wasn't talking it through, if I wasn't kind of developing it as I was going. If I was just sitting down to do this, I think it could have been. I don't think it would have been as long. Like I think you can do this in a pretty relatively short time. And I think the other thing is hopefully you're doing it because it's fun. And then the other part of it is once you've got this area mapped out, you got a lot of stuff you can play around with, and then you don't have to do this prep. This is not something you have to do, I guess, every session. This is something you do, and hopefully, if all goes according to plan, you could potentially be adventuring in this area for many sessions, and then all your prep after this becomes just kind of incremental. Or oh, we got to put a new blurb on the map, or oh, I got to add this faction, or oh, nope, something's happened here, and I got to kind of update things. So I hope it doesn't seem overwhelming or impossible to do, and just having some fun, using the dice when you need to or want to. So yeah, let's wrap this one in a frame. We're going to call this frame domains. Give it a color, which let's go yeller. Old yeller. So we got the Arbor Conclave, and then inside the Arbor Conclave, oops, no, I meant, oh my gosh, we've got the capital. All right, let's let this say 001, 001, capital. We can grab from here what we had. I'll get rid of the points in a minute. Castle of the Patriarch, unnamed Patriarch. I mean, heck, unnamed everything. No names yet. Yeah, I can, and we know we got the 5 treants, so I'm gonna just cover them separately. 2 heroes. It's kind of funny, I guess. What do you think? I guess fruit would be okay. I was trying to think. You have these, you have your treant, a retinue. You're part of some sort of, I don't even know what you call it. I guess some kind of religion that, or I mean, religion's not even the word, right? You follow God, some god, goddess, I guess, of the forest. What are your dietary restrictions? Do you go with like, hey, you're all part of the food chain? Is that how that would work? So let's see, what might we call these? I don't know. I'm trying to think of what these forest refuges, I guess that could be called. Wilderness refuge, forest refuges. I might need to come up with a different name, but we'll just. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Ouija, you are killing me here. Nope. You. Oh, Ouija, why are you doing this to me? Yes, can I? Thank you. All right, let's see if I can write these numbers in here. 0.002. I guess I'll just put them all in. I'll just copy paste. You are hurting my soul with this. Okay. Let's see. Int. Hey, I guess I'll call them because I probably won't use ent or treant. So a tree lord. A tree lord launches over this. Let's see. I don't know. Stretch of forest when called upon by the patriarch, the tree lord will serve faithfully. All right, and then we just got a couple of these. I need to duplicate. You know what? I'm going to do this out here, and then I will add them in. That seems to be easier. Conclave sounds more imposing. Well, I do like it. I agree. I need this. I need another one. 001, 002. 002. And and eventually I could add some notes in about maybe what they're doing and kind of patrols. And I imagine that there'd just be a chance of encountering them here, but that they don't go past whatever this line is. And maybe this is where you could have a stream or a rill or some kind of something that's kind of going. Maybe there's a little stream that trickles its way around and then joins up here or into there like that. And that might be a nice dividing point as to, well, why don't they go further? Well, maybe this is their borders. And of course, there's this big encampment here now. But that might be kind of the edge of their domain as it stands right now. So we have 1, 2, 3. I need 2 more. So we got to get 1 more. And let's see, I did 2, 1. Then this could be 0, 2, 0, 0, 2. And then duplicate again, and we get. And yes, I think if I was gonna, I'm kind of getting all these duplications just so I have a sort of a record of everything. If I was going to be, if I get to putting this in some kind of typesetting form, I would condense them probably into one entry that relates to all of them. But just for completeness sake, so I have everything in here and there's no confusion, we can do that. Actually, maybe I need to stretch this out some more. I do like that I can nest these in each other, so I can have kind of one thing, which I think I can roll all the way up. Yeah, look at that. Bam. All right, good deal. Now on to the next one. I think it's going to be easier for me not to nest them right away. That's my lesson that I've learned. Now, who are these guys? We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And if we called it 8 to be generous, that would be 56 square miles. 56 square miles. So, what? It's not a huge space. I don't know. Maybe a duchy just seems. I'll call it a barony. Whatever. The barony, and we can come up with, give it a clever, find a clever name later. And we could do the same thing before. We can give it some extents. It is 0.004, 0.005, 0.001.004, 0.001.005, 0.02.004, 2.005, 0.003.004, and 0.003.005. Okay, now their capital. Right. Capital is at 0.005. Capital. Then we can grab inside there. Oh, we didn't really do this one. We didn't do that. Well, that's okay. A belief, as opposed to what? Instead of a conclave, sword and stones, a belief. Is there any situations where that would be the name of a, if I'm understanding correctly, for a for some kind of domain called a belief? I'll leave the points in here just for now because I don't know if I might need them. And now we've got root absorption of minerals and other nutrients from the soil. Oh, I see. What they live, what the what the dietary restrictions might be. Yeah, that's true. If you want to get really, I mean, I guess it really depends on how funky you want to get with it. That maybe they learn to guys. That's a neat idea because maybe they learn to root in like trees and they spend their rest cycle with bare feet rooted into the ground. That's a cool idea. I'm gonna have to make a note about that. I don't know if that's your intent, but it's a very cool idea. Let's see. I'll just make a note. Do the inhabitants of the Arbor Conclave sustain themselves by rooting into soil every night? I'll note there. That's a good idea. All right, so we got the village. I'm not really concerned about the village. In the village, I could look up. I think I've done this in the past. Look up some numbers for how many families are in the village. I could do that later. So he's got 90 points, right? And he has these. Each one of those guys he can call upon. His champions. He still has. I think the thing is I still had some points for kind of a retinue, and I was gonna look that up. Maybe if I have a chance, I'm just gonna. I'll look that up. What that looks like. Oh, excuse me. I don't even know if they need to be around the treant, but that they just root into the soil. Which means their castle might be really interesting, what it's made of. We'll have to think about that, because that's another thing as well. They could use stone, but mostly the evolution of castles, not that we have to follow this, but the evolution of castles is generally from wooden structures to kind of plating them with stone to then replacing stuff with stone. Until I guess at some point they probably started just building them with stone. But even then, when you look at even building now, oftentimes, especially depending on where you live, like here in the States, if you see a building going up, when they put all these kinds of scaffolding and supports on, a lot of times there are these metal bars with things and they do them in there. But when I lived in Morocco, maybe 20, 30 years ago, when you'd see them putting up buildings, they'd be using wood everywhere to scaffold it up. Wood, and they would just kind of, I never got close enough to see, but kind of roped or maybe nailed together somehow. You could to make different, because they weren't telescoping pieces of wood, so they would kind of put them together, but it would fulfill the same function. So maybe even having not seen how I don't know how castles are. If you were building a stone castle, it's going to be stone. It's not an incremental build. You probably still use a lot of wood. But if you're part of the Arbor Conclave and trees are, I guess, sacred to you, then stone, if you're just building it straight from stone, might still be fine. Or mud or some kind of brick, something like that. Though brick, you need fire, and fire you tend to need wood. Now, of course, there's all kinds of ways we could talk about magic and divine whatever to do it, and of course maybe the neat thing of this castle's made out of living trees. There's some, we got a lot of angles, but it's some interesting. You just get some interesting ideas, and these ideas just come from some die rolls and stuff. Because I just rolled to see what kind of retinue, and I got treants. What is the castle made of? Mud, living trees, something else. All right. So we'll leave the village alone for right now. Now I got 5. I got my champion. So we got this 5. I'm just going to make these separately. And we've got what would we call it? Champion. Let me see. So we're gonna start with the first one. 000 004. Maybe knight. I don't know. Yeah. Knight holding. I don't know if that's accurate, but and the knight is a champion. Which what level's a champion? What did I say? Was it level 6? Where's my book? Where's my books? Champion is. Anyone want to take a wild guess? Do you remember? Do you know better than me? Well, I mean that's not not a stretch. But here we go. I'm gonna say it's 6, but I could be wrong. Am I wrong though? Am I right? Am I wrong? Champion is at 5. 7. Oh, I was off by 1. 7. Myrmidon. 6. Hey, Swords and Stones. Thanks for hanging out. Take it easy. All right. Champion is a level 7 fighter. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that's a tower. So that's different than a holding. Or at least I'm going to say it's different than a holding. Duplicate. 001. 004. Duplicate. 0. Two. This is going to be a tower. I'm going to call this guy a Castellan instead, because he reports. He is not less independent. Less independent. So we got the castle, but I got to go back here and duplicate this again. And we've got 2, 5. Which is another knight holding. Put some of these in. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to put them all in. Shoot. Okay, good. Got that one out. 03004. Oops. And then five. And whoops, we got, well, I can do it as first. We got this location here, which is a ruin. Right? 000.005. Lizard folk. Village. Ruin. Destroyed by the Baron. The surviving lizard folk were driven to the swamp. 001.003. Could be a nice Nice place for a haunting. A nice place for some kind of haunting. All right, so here we go. So we got our layers. We've got our domains, really one, the Arbor Conclave. And then actually, wouldn't it make more sense if that's green? And then this one. And the Barony, which I don't have a name for. That's okay. Now we can get into, well, it's okay. So we have a few things, if we look and say, well, what's left? At its core, what we need, whoops, why did it do that? What we want, what we need. So, okay, so there's, looking at it like, what do we need? Okay, we're building this as our little sandbox. Here's a little micro sandbox, mini, micro, whatever, sandbox. Okay, we got some domains. We've got some layers. We can, and really these could be factions are going to have some overlap because, and this is, you get into like, you can organize this map in a whole bunch of different ways. I mean, this kind of thing in a whole bunch of ways. I did domains and layers because I'm looking at locations primarily, and that's why I went about it. If I did factions, the Arbor Conclave's a faction, the Barony's a faction, the Lizard Folk's a faction, the Orcs are a faction, and yeah, so we'd have 4 factions. So I guess I could, right? We could make another thing. So we can say, so this is our factions. We have the Arbor Conclave, and maybe it's good to put here just so we can separate kind of their physical kind of geography and things from factions. And we can, of course, connect. We want to sort of connect them over. We can. And we can make this green just to. All right, so we can kind of do something like that. Something of that sort. Okay. And then we can have the Barony can be one also. We can also make that blue. We can also connect. No, not to you. Here we go. So on and so forth. So we can kind of do that. I didn't. We could color those other ones too, I suppose. Lizard folk. We already got green. We got sort of. Maybe color this a different color then. Oh, I don't know. Sure, gray. And then orcs. We'll go red, and then we'll call the mercenaries yellow. So we can kind of. I wish that they would give you a way to get more colors because they don't have very many. Don't have too many. All right, so Barony, so factions. We'll put another thing in here. We've got the orcs. What did I call the? Did I put the orcs as red? I think I did. Orcs. And then the mercs. Right, the mercs are yellow. Can I do it? Auto. Oh, interesting. But I can't put in my own color. That's what you're telling me. Let me put in my own color. Okay. So we've got our layers, we got our domains, we have our factions, and basically, like I said, if it gets to the point where I'm writing this up, I would put all the put everything kind of together. Though maybe not, because it might be nice to have a page of just, hey, this is what the factions want. These are what they want. This is what they're looking for. This is what's going on. All right, but putting that stuff aside, because factions are all things that you can really engage with as you're playing the game. I think just looking at who wants what, as handy as it is, you kind of only need, I don't know, one or two factions have something in it, because the party rolls into town. Hey, Jason, party rolls into town and looks to see what's going on, what's up in this place, and then somebody gives them a job, and then they try to go do the job. So you can get pretty far. You can at least get started with really just having a job there, and obviously you want to have factions at some point, and you want to have things. But I think if I was just starting the sandbox, I think I could do with just either not thinking of them even as factions, just thinking like, oh, there are bandits out there, and they want you to stop the bandits. Okay, and then when they get to the bandits, I can decide whether I want the bandits to be a faction, meaning, and I guess I guess you can get into it. What makes a faction? What defines a faction as opposed to just some bandits, right? What makes one set of bandits a faction, and one set of bandits just there? And I think you could probably argue that, well, they're always a faction, which is fine. Another way to look at it is, are they trying to a faction? I think, to me, I would say what makes something a faction, or maybe you could call it an active faction versus kind of a passive faction. Everyone's got angles. Everybody wants stuff, and in that way, you could look at it as every NPC, in a sense, is at least a faction of one. They might belong to other things, but they're at minimum a faction of one. They're looking to kind of do something for themselves. They're looking to better themselves. But I think when I terms of factions as they relate to the kind of world stuff, I look at it as, are they trying to really affect the world in some way? So they're even their area of the world. So you could look at it and say, okay, the innkeeper, you could say he's a faction. He's got his wants, his needs, and okay, he may even have employees. Okay, is the innkeeper trying to really affect the world around it? And I would say the answer is probably not. They're just happy to do business. They've got their margins. Maybe they've retired from doing other things, and they're okay. Not that they don't want to succeed. Sure, they might like a bigger inn, but they're not really looking to change the world in some way, to really influence, to really, make, either for good or bad, some real permanent or quasi-permanent change to the conditions of the world, whether those are physical conditions, societal conditions, cultural conditions, whatever it is, right? They're fine. The average shopkeeper, same thing. Would he like to have a bigger shop? Sure. Would he like to be a little bit more successful? Sure. Is he really trying to go out there and manipulate things and really change the world around him? No. Now, you might get someone who wants to be a mogul, to use a more modern term, or he wants to have his own guild and wants to really do that, so he's trying to take over other businesses, right? The merchant is just happy on their own. Okay, yeah, maybe technically they're a faction, but in terms of the game, you're not really worried about them. But then there's maybe another shopkeeper who has designs on wanting to change the world, wanting to take over other businesses, wanting to put other businesses out of commission, wanting to secure this and do that, and they are trying to kind of change the local world around them. So that would make them more of a, I don't even want to call it active faction, true faction. I don't know. I think sometimes when we just lump everybody's a faction. I think that's great, but at the same time, I think it can imply a bunch of overhead for individuals or organizations that aren't really trying to do much. The average, I don't know, sheriff of a Shire Reeve person, law and order person, yeah, they're a faction. They maybe represent the local authority, but in terms of them themselves, they're just trying to keep the peace. They're not trying to change the world. That might change if there are really things afoot and they are actively trying to tamp it down or something, but for the most part, maybe they're not. They're just kind of there. So I say all that to say that, you don't need to, not everybody has to be a faction, I guess, at least starting out. And I think that you can have somebody just be an obstacle or just be a situation like some bandits, and then you can kind of wait and see on what the bandits do, how the party interacts with the bandits, and all of that can inform whether you want to then give them the full faction treatment or let them just be some bandits that just happen to be there. They're just doing bandit stuff. They don't have any greater designs on the world. They're not trying to be carve their own kingdom out of their illicit spoils. They're just the petty banditry, right? The petty thief that just is a pickpocket, runs away. They're not trying to be king of the thieves. They're just trying to get by, kind of thing. So, I guess what I'm saying is that when I look at my order of operations for this sandbox, having complete sort of faction write-ups for all of these is probably not necessary. Could I do it? Sure. And I have ideas for it, so I might have something for them, which is also great. But if I also just had the barony and, oh, hey, there's a dwarf lost up here. Could you find him for us? That's fine to get started. That's totally sufficient. And then as you play, I don't know how long that might take, a session, 2 sessions, whatever, and the party is moving, say they start here and they move around and they meet people and they're talking to people and they're trying to track down, maybe they're trying to track down, the company of dwarves were here, but then they relocated to here or here, whatever, they're doing, and maybe they're getting into mix-ups or they're making other promises. You might be rolling more dice and suddenly other things occur to you, and then you kind of flesh out like, oh, what does, because you can have things happen where your party will go to somebody and ask them a question that you just never asked. So they say the party starts here in the capital and they go wandering. They get to this tower where there's a castellan, and they decide they need somewhere to stay because maybe it's in the evening or whatever. So they go and say they appeal to the castellan for lodging for the night, and maybe they're having dinner with the castellan, and oh, this is great. Oh, hey, castellan, what do you want? We know what the Lord has tasked us with finding this missing dwarf, but what about you? What can we do? You've been so helpful to us, and we like to make friends, and we're trying to make our way. What do you want? Now, of course, if you'd already written up all these guys as little factions, that's great. But you could also just have like, oh, what does he want? And you come up with something, and then suddenly they're a faction. Suddenly this was just a guy who was just a part of this crew, and then suddenly go, hey, you know what? He's got his own deal he wants. I guess it depends on your style too, right? If you feel more comfortable having all this stuff prepped, it's better to prep. Probably prep it out. But if you're okay kind of flying by the seat of your pants, the one good thing is if they never talk to this guy, never have dinner with him, and never ask him what do you want in life, then you don't have to develop that part of it. He can just be a guy doing a job. A guy doing a job to the best or not so best of their abilities, so on and so forth. But what I do think you're going to need is we're going to need some wandering critters. Both for, obviously, as we're rolling checks when they're going, but it also, that tells us things about what stuff lives in these woods. What stuff lives in these woods? I suppose maybe who owns these woods? I guess maybe it's just unclaimed by any. So let us embrace it last. Alrighty. So where should we start? So I need some critters. And I'm not going to worry about animals. Things like that. I'm always torn on what to do. I kind of tend to go with, I just want my encounters to be the stuff that's really meaningful. Potentially meaningful. So stuff like, oh, you see a deer at 300 feet away. Like, is that meaningful? I mean, maybe if they're starving, it is. But usually that's really something where I would just have that. That kind of becomes part of the backdrop. You're moving around the woods, or you're on you're in this area following let's say you're following the river, and there's stuff you see in the river. Oh, you see some fish. Oh, you see rabbit droppings. Oh, you see a stag bound off into the brush, whatever, as you come around a corner. I don't need that to take up my encounter table space. And if the party is looking for that stuff, then you could do that under whatever procedure you want to use for hunting or fishing or anything like that. Then you can get into that part of it. So I'm not really concerned about the animals part of it. I'm more concerned about the kind of notable encounters, the encounters that are going to make the party go, at least potentially go, well, either we wanted, this is going to compel us to do something, or at least have to make some kind of decision, which I think, generally speaking, you see a couple of deer is not a big decision point. So if you rely on, I think if you have those and that's kind of all it is, like, oh, there's some deer over there. Like, okay, well, you could go hunt them down, I guess, but probably not, because we probably have something else we're doing. So great, there's deer here. I mean, sure, if it's a pack of wolves and they're attacking you, they're starving and they're chasing that is a notable encounter. But just hearing a wolf howl in the distance, if it's just kind of, I don't know, predators probably work a little bit better in terms of those encounters, or anything that maybe is potentially, again, you want a decision point, whether it's because of danger, whether it's because of opportunity, or it's because of just sort of inquisitiveness. It's like there's a puzzle here. If there was a guy with an arrow in his shoulder and he slumped down against a tree, that's an interesting encounter, because, like, wait a minute, what's this guy doing here? He's been struck by an arrow. What's going on? You're kind of got a little bit of curiosity. Whatever it means. But that's something. And of course, if you're out in the wilderness and you see a guy, that's an encounter. If you're in the street of the town, we're not going to, just a guy is not an encounter. And I guess that's how I feel about animals. That's probably a better way to think of it. If you're in a village, you don't have to roll encounter to see if you find a villager. You see when you don't. It's kind of, you take it as read that you might see. You're going to see villagers walking around here and there. It's not notable. Same thing if you're in this kind of grassland grazing country and you see the odd deer or something, it's probably not notable. I want my encounters to basically be the notable stuff. I want my encounters to represent the things which are at least going to put decisions in front of the party. They may not go after them. They may go, whoa, okay, this is cool, but we're on a mission, or get out of Dodge because, oh my gosh, it's 10 manticores or something. I gotta run, kind of thing. But you want to be sort of tempted, you want it to be a decision, as opposed to just, well, it's just kind of background kind of thing. So we need some critters. I'm going a roundabout way of saying we need some critters. Well, I'm just going to use, do I still have my PDF thing open? Nope, I don't. Hold on a minute. Let me just get my PDF straight. Okay, here we go. All right. I don't need castle encounters. Yeah, so we can do some, well, let's put another thing here. And we'll call it, well, we'll do the woods. First we'll put that in there. We can do woods, forest, woodlands, forest. I guess not the conclave forest, but the other forest. So what do we know about this forest? Whoops, I guess, I don't need the map right now because I can zoom in here. So we got this forest area here, is what I'm kind of talking about. And we could call it the Eastwood. Okay. It's not controlled by the Arbor Conclave. We know it's got this mercenary camp in here. It's got some elevation stuff in here. But we don't have any other than this. There's nothing as particular as layering in this area. Okay, so we know, though, that potentially there's other people going into the woods. You're kind of hunter, forager, that kind of thing. Probably they're probably not going further than, we can do. And this is one thing I really like in how Wolves Upon the Coast does it, was they'll give you kind of I think it's like a D100 type roll, but there'll be a bunch they'll say, like, hey, if you're within this area of this, then you get this, otherwise nothing. Now I'm tending to use kind of D6 stuff, so I got to kind of look at it differently, but I think I'm going to try to, and I can't do tables, unfortunately, and Ouija is not good on tables, but I'm just going to put some notes here. So we've got a couple things. We've got villagers from the barony. So they're going to be your hunters, foragers, maybe outlaws. Okay. We've got your from the mercenary. We got mercenaries, which could be patrol. They also might have hunters. Right? So where we got two. We do have this placer beast. Probably going to be really this area here. So that might be one. Really just 004.002. Another option. We have the rocks. I think they certainly can, there as a crow flies or as a rock flies. So we have the rocks are also another one. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then someone else, something or someone else that's maybe just wandering through, and that'll be kind of our start. I mean, it's I'm going for 6. Oh, I have 2 more, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I have 2 more, so I can have. So I can roll. I don't have any particular inspiration at the moment, so I am fine to just go to the wilderness encounter table. I pushed that too far. I did. And see what I get under woods. So let's just go ahead and see what we got. Okay, we're rolling. What are we rolling here? A D8, right? Oh, D8. I got 5. So I got unusual. Somebody loved by you. Okay, so unusual gets us some interesting things. Treant might be interesting because maybe they're making some forays. But what do I get? I got 11. There's a Medusa. Whoo! All right. That's definitely a high end. I don't know. How do they do? What is it? I think Medusa actually is in the basic set monsters. Am I remembering correctly that they did that? It's definitely interesting to see what monsters they put in which book. I think, yeah, it is. So Medusa in this case, it's actually not that horrible. So let's just see what they say. Or read what they say. So Medusa, 4 double star, because it's got a couple of special things, right? So it's 4 double star, armor class 8. You can actually have a number appearing 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 out in the wilderness. And then they save his fight. Okay, so basically, they have a snake bite and special. So let me just get down to the text here. A Medusa looks like a human female with live snakes growing from her head instead of hair. The sight of a Medusa will turn a creature to stone unless the victim saves versus turn to stone, right? That's the the classic. The bite of the snakes is poisonous. Save versus poison or die in 1 turn. And when they hit, they do a total of 1d6 points of damage. The group of snakes may only attack once per round. A Medusa will often wear a robe with a hood to disguise in order to trick its victims into looking at it. A Medusa can be looked at without harm by looking at its reflection in a mirror. If a Medusa sees its own reflection, it must save versus turn to stone or it will petrify itself. Anyone who tries to attack a Medusa without looking at it must subtract 4 from all to hit rolls, and the Medusa may attack with a bonus of +2 on its hit rolls. A Medusa also gains +2 on saves versus spells due to their magical nature. So we got 1 to 4 Medusae. All right. I rolled 3. So maybe they're looking for a lair. They're looking for a lair. Looking for a lair in all the wrong places. Looking for a lair. All right. So they're wandering. They are literally wandering. So these, they're all wandering because we don't have any active lairs here. But maybe you could roll a dice and we can have something fun like, hey, every week of game time that the Medusae, Medusa are active. Roll 1d6. On a 6, they have found a lair in one of the forest hexes. Okay. I suppose even you could have this whole. I mean, you could get complicated in it because we have an evil wizard. I'm sure would love to have some Medusae working for them. So that's another thing. So you definitely got some. Ever got some options. It'd also be fun to run. Man, you just get these ideas. You could run a little, roll some dice to see what happens if the Medusa encounters different places. I might have to make a note about that because that seems really fun. That you might have to roll, like mark their position down and then move them around the board. And if they happen to run into a settlement or another lair or something, then you can have some little mock thing. Maybe roll some dice to see what happens. That'd be cool too. Let me make a note. Do the Medusa move? If so, what happens if they discover a lair or settlements? Might have to roll some dice. I imagine if they get to a settlement, I mean because really, even the magic, even though you've got some high end folks up in the, say, in the merc camp, and the orcs have some ones, but there's a bit of luck involved because all they got to do is fail that save, and maybe just one save. That's all it takes. Turn to stone. And if it's the wizard that's turned to stone first, let's say in the merc camp, then they're the person that's most likely would have some kind of stone to flesh spell, and that becomes it could be a whole other adventure starter. Is someone's been turned to stone and they need to find a cure. So we'll keep that in mind. I'm just gonna wrap this in a, yep, wandering creatures. Give this the red. Okay, so we got the Eastwood. And then what other areas we got? That's wait, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Oh no, we still have one more here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, we got one more. So let's roll another D8. I got a 7. What's a 7? Animal. Better be good, or I'm gonna roll another one. Rock baboons might be kind of cool. Unicorn would work. Cocked. 5. Hawk. I got rocks. I don't need the hawk, so I'm gonna roll again. I'm gonna roll these at the same time. I'm gonna go with the gusto. Okay, I got a 6. Animal again. 6 and a 3. Cat, panther. All right, some kind of that's fine. Some kind of yeah, panther, wildcat. Sure. All right. And yeah, maybe they just roll around. They're just looking. They don't lair in any particular place. They're just moving around their territory. Okay, so let's see. That was the woods. So we got the Badlands. So let's just do the Badlands. So we can take this. The Badlands. So we've got the rock still from 005.000. We've got the displacer beasts. 004 to 002. I just noticed I called them displacer beats over here. Beasts. Then we've got the you might run into that dwarf. The lost dwarf who's in 005, 001. And so that's 3, and I think we got 3 more because I don't think there's anything else that we've. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yep. I don't think that. Well, I guess I don't think the orcs are going to go down there because this elevation change kind of going sort of cliff-like. It's a real separator. So the orcs are not going. They're not going there, and the mercs are not going there either. That's not part of what they're doing. And the people from the villages, it's kind of far, and they're not interested in that anyway. So I'm going to just go with those 3. Now we need to go to. Back up here, and we need to look at here for Barrens, Mountains, Hills. See what we get, because I need 3 more. I got 5 and 6. 5 is animal. Why do you keep giving me animal? What's 6? I don't want. We already got rocks. I don't need hawks. I need rocks. What did I get? I got 5 and 5. Gosh darn it! Stop giving me animal. 2 and 9. Flyer. What do we get on the flyer? 9. Mountains. Other would be robber flies. How big are robber flies? What are they? What's the deal with? All right, so robber flies. To get our memory back. 2 hit dice, 6 armor class. 3-foot-long giant flies, colored with black and yellow stripes. At distance, they look like killer bees. They are not harmed by the poison of killer bees, which are their main source of food. Robber flies are patient hunters. They often hide in shadows and wait for prey, surprising on a roll of 1 to 4. A robber fly can leap 30 feet and attack with its bite. Robber flies are meat eaters and have been known to attack humans. All right, so we'll have robber flies. That's fine, because they're kind of a different sort of thing. They're flyers, but they're not exactly soaring high or anything. And that's fine. That they don't have I don't know the ecology of the robber flies, if they have a nest or anything, but we can assume they're moving around. That's okay. I can deal with that. We got 1 and 11. Let's see. 1 is men, and then on the men beat, we got 11, which is what? Cavemen. Okay. What are we calling a caveman here? Goblins, hobgoblins, giant ferrets, driver ants, cave locusts. All right, so are you talking about, are these Neanderthals? Is that what they're calling cavemen? What are they talking about? Am I looking, and do I need to go back to the other book? Okay, Neanderthal, parenthetically, caveman. Okay, they're demi-humans related to humans, squat bodies, large bones, powerful muscles. Their faces have ape-like features, including large brows with the eyes, yada, yada, yada. All right, so they use stones, spears, and, all right, they're Neanderthals. Cavemen. Okay. That's fine. Maybe they're also looking for a new... Oh, that's another. Put a note here on a hunt. Maybe they ritually hunt rocks for initiation. I don't know. Some cool things you can do here to kind of put them together. Maybe they're looking for the rock's nest. Can you speak to cavemen? What's the deal? Do they say? I mean, obviously I can do whatever the heck I want. I'm just curious. Neanderthals usually attack. Yeah. They choose their leaders. Okay. They are friendly towards dwarves and gnomes, but hate goblins and kobolds. They attack ogres on sight. They're shy and will avoid humans, but are not usually hostile unless they're attacked. They don't say actually if they speak. They are lawful, so they could speak lawful. I don't know. I might give them some kind of their own speech. Maybe there's a chance that they speak that they chance that they speak common. Maybe like like dragons have some percent chance they speak common. All right, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got one more. All right, let's see what we get. That was a good one. I'm down with that. 6 and 2. So 6. Don't tell me it's people again. Humanoid. And 2. Ooh, a cloud giant. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. That gets another cool one. I'm down with that. All right, well, to figure what those mean. Let's see, what other regions do I have left? That's there. There. Got that one. So we got the kind of northern plain, and then the 2 swamps. 2 more, and then we'll be done with this bit. Northern plain. Orcs. I think there might be some mercenaries. And that's it. The conclave doesn't go out there. Everything else is kind of too far. So now we get some. I got a 1 and a 5. We're in grassland. 1 is human or men. The time of men has ended. some berserkers. All right, well, we'll figure out this. Just running around. All right, we'll figure out what the berserkers want. That's okay. Okay, 3 and 11. 3 humanoid, interesting. And 11 is a Thule. All right, well, not sure why. We'll have to figure that out. 1 and 7. So men again, this time. It's a noble. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. 9. No, sorry. 8 and 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 8 and 9. 8 is insect. And 9 is giant scorpion. Ooh. All right. And then the swamp. Which will work for both the swamp things. I think. So I definitely want some kind of undead. So I'm just going to go ahead and... Because there was something horrible was here. So I want there to be some... Maybe even... I'll roll twice. Let's see what I got on the first one. And of course I could pick. So there's zombies. I'll call them water. Oh my god. Waterlogged zombies. Let's get one more. Is there a... Can I get a higher end? And ghoul. That's fine. Cool. All right. Now let's see what else we get rolling. 5 and 9. At least for the one swamp. I might need to. 5 for the swamps is... Oh, undead again. I'm down with that. Oh, and I got 9 already. I already rolled 9. I didn't need to roll that again. 9 is a wraith. All right. 3 and 1. 3 humanoid. 1 goblin. Oh, maybe some goblins are trying to see what they can do. I like the story of that. 7 and 6. 7 is insect. That's applicable. 6, killer bees. Huh. I don't think of killer bees as being really swamp critters. But whatever. Some kind of... maybe I'll just change them up to be more... I think I like biting flies and things less than bees. And then... This is the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, yeah, 6. I got 5 and 10. 5. Wow, undead again. And what's 10 on undead? A vampire. That's a lot going on. That's a lot going on there. I might need to tighten that up. So maybe this will be... I'll call this Southern Swamp. Now we'll do the Northern Swamp. That's... I actually, for the Southern Swamp, given that there was a tragedy that took place there, I'm totally fine with all this undead and some kind of biting flies. However, Northern Swamp, we don't really need too much. I mean, it's going to be the lizard men, a lizard folk, a big one. I don't think anyone else is really going to bother them. So maybe I should just look at... I could probably just look at a couple of these. So what I'll do is, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. Let's see, I got 4 driver ants. Sure, I'll put driver ants. Let's do some... What kind of things we have? Flyer, maybe for the swamp. A small rock. I don't think the rock's coming that far. Let's do... How about unusual? 5. A Gorgon? Jeez. I might need to not have that much because the lizard men are there. How many people are squeezed in here? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, some sprites? Yeah, sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, I'm going to definitely feel free to change some of these up. And then what do we got for... Oh, yeah, some kind of... What do we got? Swimmer. Well, I rolled lizard men, and I already have lizard men. I got that. Oh, water termites. Sure. Okay. So we've got... Whoa. We've got kind of things organized a bit better. We've got our wandering creatures, which I'm definitely going to have to adjust for the swamps because it's a little bit crazy. We got Badlands, and we got kind of things set up. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is kind of just maybe organize this in some kind of key. I have some ideas for factions, how some is interacting. The orcs and the mercs are sort of head to head, but I want there to be, there's kind of maybe a little bit of a triangle here. I think also between, I got some things going on, and then we also have the dwarves in search of their missing companion also. All right, folks. Well, it's been a bit over an hour, so this is a good place to call it a stream. Let me know if this how this seems to you, and I'm gonna try to wrap it up into some form and throw it out there. Maybe I might charge $1 or something, really, just to support the channel. Help me pay my bills. And I'll throw it out to patrons and folks. So if you're a patron, you feel like becoming one, and I don't ask too much, I might get this out there, but we'll see. We'll see what I do with it. I have nothing set in stone. So we'll call it a stream, and we'll pick it up maybe tomorrow. We shall see. All right, folks. Have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Game on, everybody. and I'll talk to you later. Bye now. And